Well, welcome back to the Crypto Power, of course, powered by Solum Global with your host, the founder of Solum Global, Kirk St. John's, crypto's most interesting man, Antonia Moss, the crypto queen, and the crypto bros. Myself, Lance Miliaccio, and George Balloutine. This is your ultimate deep dive into everything crypto, blockchain, and decentralized finance. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just stepping into the world of digital assets for the first time, we bring you expert insights, top interviews, exciting new projects, breaking news, game-changing innovations shaping the future of digital assets. There's no hype, no fluff, just real talk on this show, real strategies and real opportunities in the world of crypto. Because on this show, in crypto, we trust. Happy to be back here with you guys. The team's back in the saddle, back at work Wednesday. You know, you can always find this show Wednesday on 3 p.m. on our home base, Rumble, and of course, Locals. And of course, Friday at 3 p.m. So, Antonia Moss, the camera's doing you justice today. You look like you got highlights. We've been talking about it behind stage. But you say no adjustment to the hair. Nobody noticed that I tinted my eyebrows. I highlighted my eyebrows, but nobody commented.
They're looking gorgeous. Yeah, no highlights for me, but I'm going to stick with this lighting if I'm getting this feedback.
Exactly. You're getting some killer feedback today. George Balloutine, my brother from another mother. How are you, man?
I'm feeling very pregnant by Elon Musk right now.
I don't blame you at $3 million a year. I absolutely. But if you do a gender reveal, I can't participate. I hate those gender reveals.
Bro, no, you're a crypto bro. You're the one that's going to throw the gender reveal party, bro.
Whoa.
That's it.
Maybe Solum Global can pay for the baby shower. Congratulations to you and Elon Musk.
Right.
Kirk St. John's, what's going on there, brother?
Nothing, just enjoying South Florida. They're calling it Wall Street South now. Drove by on Flagler the other day to Elon's new, I think it's either 13 million, 23 million, could be 50, I can't remember. But he bought the whole top floor at one of the new high rises going up on Flagler in the middle bridge there. Yeah. So welcome to the neighborhood, Elon.
You know, maybe you can get one of those T-shirt shooters and launch some stuff up on the rooftop out Solomon, like a business plan. You just launch it up there. Maybe Elon will get a hold of it and he'll jump on board for Solomon.
I'm just hoping I bump into him at Starbucks or something so I can
exactly. You probably, but he'll be rolling deep. He usually does with all the death threats he gets now because of Doge. He's going to be rolling deep with probably 10 guys. And don't forget now they're actually deputized by the U.S. Marshals. And I understand they're carrying small SMGs besides their normal sidearms.
Really?
So they're pretty much ready. Yeah, I understand they got approved for Class 3 weapons is what I heard.
I saw him on somewhere. I can't remember, like on an X feed, but he was talking about death threats. But I pulled up behind a Tesla Cybertruck right before I got to his house, and the guy had taken off the thing on the back and put on Toyota.
Yeah.
So he's safe, I guess.
I don't think that's going to cut it as camouflage.
Exactly. Well, people are getting attacked, but of course they're getting charged. Those are acts of terrorism. It's not good for them. But listen, there's big news here at the Crypto Power Hour on Rumble. I've been told by, and they've confirmed it when George and I first identified it, it looks like the crypto show on Rumble, right? The Crypto Power Hour is the #1 crypto show on Rumble. What do you think of that?
I love that. Yes. Congratulations.
Where's that coming from?
What do you mean where it's coming from?
Do we have a soundtrack now?
Of course it is coming from me, because that's all we do on this show is win the #1 crypto show on Rumble. I'm pretty proud of that. It's great news for us. Of course, it's great news, and thank you to the audience. Without them, we wouldn't be doing anything except talking a bunch of trash between the four of us, which we already do that on a daily basis. We don't need any help, but we appreciate you guys taking the hour out of your time to help us move up the charts.
If we're going to brag a little bit, tell the audience, whatever, everybody stand by, because hopefully in the next, either Friday or next week, we're going to announce a new big syndication thing that's happening as the show's getting picked up. So stand by.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. It looks like we're going to have a nationally syndicated radio show. So that'll be exciting in itself. We're looking forward to it. But I want to say the team, great job on your part. Of course, you make the show interesting. And what the plan here is always to take it from everybody, from the newbies all the way to the super experienced. And let's kick it off. Antonia, I love to throw to you in the beginning of the show. We can do a little education for people. This is where we get some of the basics covered for you so that people can learn the process and learn the lingo and don't have to feel like, oh my God, I can barely handle my computer. How do I know anything about this? You know, we're going to give you the opportunity to learn it from the ground floor. So, Antonia, take it from there.
Okay, so if you've been following along with the show, you'll know that this is the moment we've been building towards. It's definitely for the newbies, just explaining the concepts about crypto from the baseline up so that we can learn about what they all mean. And then I think over time, our audience can engage better. So we're going to start with the basics, literally laying the foundation. We'll unpack core concepts that everything else in crypto builds on. So these questions I'm going to answer now is, what is crypto? What is blockchain? Why does decentralization matter? What are public and private keys? And then we'll go back to the two giants, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Why do they matter so much? So as we say on the Crypto Power Hour, this isn't about hype headlines, and this segment isn't about price predictions, etc. It's about making sure you understand what the space is, how it works, and why it matters. So firstly, what actually is crypto? So let's start at the root. Crypto is short for cryptographic currency. So this really means digital money that is built using cryptography and run on decentralized networks or computers. So unlike money that we use every day, crypto doesn't come from a central authority like a government or a bank. It's peer-to-peer. So that means value can be transferred directly between people without a middleman. Transactions are verified by code, not by institutions. What this means is it removes the need for trust in a central authority and instead puts power in the hands of the user. It's fundamentally redesigned how value moves in a digital age. So just on this piece, I'm going to ask my co-host some questions. So Lance, how would your relationship with money, do you think, change if you didn't have to rely on a bank at all?
You know, I think that, of course, it depends on how much I'm traveling. I think that crypto is a solution for that you wouldn't have to convert your currency. So if I was traveling internationally, is the first thing that comes to mind, without having to deal with the conversion of dollars to a foreign currency, whether it's a euro. And of course, you lose money on all those exchange-traded currencies. So if cryptocurrency or digital assets were readily used across the globe, I wouldn't have to do that. So I wouldn't lose the money on that. That's one thing that comes to mind. And secondarily, for me, I have a core issue with the Federal Reserve Bank. I think the US dollar, as an example, is a fiat currency, and I'm always uneasy about us being $36 trillion in debt. So in my own head, I started thinking about that and think, is there going to come a point when I'm going to lose this massive amount of value in the US dollar and I'm going to pay the consequences? I think when you're looking at global crypto assets, these cryptographic currencies and digital money, I don't think that is going to be as big a concern, especially for what I would consider the blue chip cryptos. I know there's volatility, but the US dollar makes me even more uneasy with the debt.
Interesting. Very good point, especially about transferring money internationally. I think that was going to be my follow-up to George, but you've already answered it for us. So
sorry.
No, not at all.
Yeah, well, you know how I'll screw it up. My mind goes off kilter on stuff. So
I never told you ahead of time. I was just, I think it's a key point. I'm glad you brought it up because it's this transaction, like free or lack of freedom of transacting across borders without these currency conversions, which is a big promoter of crypto. And we see different currencies globally who are, South American currencies or countries which suffer inflation risk and currency risk. So I'm glad you brought it up. Anyway, so
no, and I think it's great because I always have a sock drawer. The other thing is when you leave a country, you always seem to be stuck with that currency. You never really cash it all. You find some that you forgot to cash, and then it goes into the sock drawer and it goes into the bag with all the other currencies, and you never do anything with it. So you've also lost that money.
I got to tell you something. I went out on the boat like 6 months ago, and usually when I come in, I tip the dockhand. And so my wallet is also my passport holder. And I open it up and I look in there. All I have is Tanzanian shillings from when I was in Kwanzaa. So I give the kid, I give it to him. I give him like 500,000, Tanzanian dollars.
Yeah, I'm like a multi-millionaire in the Indonesian.
You have to
whatever that is.
Exactly.
You got to add security though. You got to add security for yourself and not having to carry foreign currency or just currency period, and not worried about being robbed. because that does happen a lot in other countries when traveling. So there's a big security thing with just having your crypto wallet in your phone, or exchanging crypto that way, that versus carrying cash on you.
Can I throw in one more?
Sure.
Permission, right? Permission. So our CEO, we were taking some money out of Solum to move it into crypto so we could send it over to our tech guys in Denmark. And the bank, refused to do it. They weren't even going to let us take the money out. So they had called us. We had probably 2 or 3 individual phone calls with the bank before they would finally release the money. We were just trying to move it from our regular checking account to our Coinbase corporate account. And they're like, what are you doing? Who's this for? Do you know those people? How long have you known them?
Exactly.
They literally asked us for a copy of the work invoice. And we were like, look, either give us the freaking money or we're moving. And so they're like, oh, okay, don't get crazy now. I was like, get crazy. You're the people that are crazy, making me beg for my money. So you have to ask permission from a bank. But if I want to send any of you guys crypto out of my wallet, I don't need to ask permission. So permissionless transfers is something that, at least this last week, is at the top of my list.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see these institutions, companies, etc., as it looks like they're doing, move forwards that way. So it's not just limited to me to you and that scenario, but very much agree. But anyway, on to our next mini segment, which is, what is a blockchain? So right. So a blockchain, it's the technology that makes crypto possible. It's how we can think about it. So we can think about it as a digital ledger that's shared across thousands of computers. So instead of being stored in one place, the information lives across the network. Please, Kirk, jump in if I'm not explaining this as best as I can, but I'm trying to really simplify. So each block contains a group of transactions. And when a block is full, it gets added to the chain of previous blocks. And once data is added, this is the key part about the blockchain, it can't be changed. So it becomes a permanent part of the record. So the benefits of this immutability makes blockchain trustworthy. Everyone can see it. No one can alter it without consensus, at least. And it doesn't rely on trust in any single person or system. It's basically, once it's put there, it stays. So yeah, I think if I've done a good enough job of explaining that, I guess, Kurt, do you think like the average person realizes that the different use cases of blockchain tech, or do you think they don't quite understand the benefits quite yet?
I think a lot of it's going to have to do with what they understand already about something as simple as their own laptop or their PC or maybe even their phone, and how all that stuff works. Probably one of the other key elements to it is a catchphrase of centralized versus decentralized. And if you think of a Word document, like if you had a Word document and you're going to send it to someone over the internet and going from me to you via email, that little file is going to get bundled up in one nice little packet of individual pieces, sent down a railroad track to my, like let's say I'm using Google, so it's going to go to the Google mail servers, which are a computer, right? And then from there, it's going to find Antonia's address and send it out. So the key to the internet are the servers or the laptop or the phone. That's the individual unit connected to it. But with the blockchain, they're basically taking that same email, and like if you think of it as an individual piece of paper, you're tearing it up into a million little bits and going, and it just goes out like fairy dust over the internet. It doesn't have to go through Google. It can go out with any nodes that are connected, which are any individual, internet connected devices. And then it all comes back together and reassembles inside your wallet, and you can read it, right? And when you're talking about cryptocurrencies being basically cryptography or cryptic money, yes, it is cryptic money, but it's also currency. So most people don't know this, but you can send a text message inside a Bitcoin transaction, right? So information can be currency as much as money. So, I always go back to the Star Trek with Mr. Spock getting beamed up or beaming Captain Kirk up off the surface of the Earth. He breaks up into all the little particles, and then he reassembles in the, what's it called, the transport bay of the Starship Enterprise. So that would be my little tidbit.
Amazing. I think I was, going to go into that concept of decentralization, which you mentioned, which is obviously.
But I want to add something about
okay?
I want to add something about the blockchain. So when we talk about blockchain,
Yeah.
there's 3 types of blockchain. You brought up the first one, which is a public blockchain, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, which they participate in is open source code. Then you have it's permission blockchain. An example of that is Ripple. They control the roles that people can play with in the network. And then you have it's a private blockchain, also known as a distributed ledger technology, tend to be smaller, and they utilize a token or crypto. They do not utilize a token or crypto, I should say. But all 3, they use cryptography. They allow each person or any given network to manage the ledger in a secure way without the need for a central authority to enforce rules, which Kurt was talking about, decentralized, which is very big. It's important.
Most people don't know this, but if you had me and Lance and George and Antonia, and we all went out and set up our own little nodes, we could literally replicate the core of the Bitcoin blockchain. We wouldn't replicate all the wallets and everything that happened, but what Satoshi laid out there. So it's open source information, and use is almost as important as the technology. But blockchains are really, they probably sound all very complicated, but they're not.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I'm grateful, George, that you explained those different pieces, because you kind of dove a bit deeper to go into it. But onto centralization and decentralization again, I guess what we're kind of alluding to here is that, in a decentralized network, no single entity has control. So yeah, it's different where traditional systems, where power is concentrated and really spreads authority across a wide network. I don't know, George, do you think that this, it does make systems more transparent, hard to censor, and less prone to corruption or failure. And I do think that's a key point, because many people who might not know as much about the crypto industry hear these scandals, which we hear of a lot, where there is corruption or failure of the system, but the whole basis of a decentralized network and blockchain technology and crypto means that it's meant to be safer, and the types of corruption which occur or failures are merely hacking into the surrounding how do I explain this, Kurt? Could you help me out
the
here?
Web 2 stuff, the surrounding devices and stuff that they use to access it.
Well, you could, so, I mean, let's to further explain, before blockchain, trust was established by central authorities, which they issued SSLs, which is our secure socket layer client certificates. And now you have the blockchain. Right. So it's they establish trust in innovative ways where it's all public, and it's like you said before, Antonio, nothing can be changed. Once it's in there, it's in there. So, and that's secure, and it's not just run by one person, it's run by other nodes, which are, people running the computers. So
yeah, no, thank you. So basically, crypto, blockchain, etc., the things we talk about are actually pretty safe unless it goes wrong for something which is not inherent in the system. But on to the next mini segment before I've got to pass it off to the next piece of the show, Lance. But public keys and private keys. So this is a core of ownership, really. In crypto, ownership isn't tied to your name on an account. It's tied to something called a key pair. So that's a public key and a private key. So I think you can think of your public key is like a bank account number. So it's safe to share, and people can use it to send you funds. And it represents your sort of address on the blockchain. Your private key, on the other hand, is like your master password, which you don't show anyone. It's what gives you control over the funds stored at your public address. So whoever holds the private key can move the assets. It's like me giving Lance my address, but not the key to my door, right? I don't know if that analogy makes sense. But anyway, here's the catch. If you lose your private key, you lose access to your funds. So you can't go in the house anymore. There's no password reset, no customer service. The responsibility is completely yours. So you're responsible for that. But if you if you store your crypto on an exchange, the exchange hold the keys, which means that they ultimately control your funds. And I guess understanding this is essential because it's where the promise of ownership and freedom in crypto becomes real. But then with that increased freedom, if you get it wrong, lose your private key, you've lost access. So it really highlights the importance of security and self-custody. So Lance, over to you. Like, how comfortable are you with the idea of being fully responsible for your own financial security? And I guess in addition to that, do you see private keys in the future being held by individuals, or do you think people will be drawn to exchanges having this control? What do you think people will adopt over time?
I mean, I don't have any issue with holding my own keys, meaning that I can take full responsibility for my finances, but not everybody's like that. I mean, I would have redundancy in the system because there's a saying that's really relevant, not your key, not your keys, not your coins. So if you lose that 12-word seed phrase, you're in deep doo-doo. You're going to have a major problem because you're not going to have any access to your money. You have to look at it from the perspective that you have to have some redundancy, but you have to have safety and security at the same time. So my belief is that you should take your coins and your digital assets and you should move them off the exchanges into cold storage wallets. We believe that cold storage is probably the key. Now, is that 100% foolproof? No, because if you have the seed phrase somewhere and you have the wallet and somebody's smart enough to be able to recognize a wallet, there have been some cases even online where people have talked about robberies or burglars that occurred at their home, but the person didn't realize that the crypto wallet sitting there that even had the seed phrases with it with a small piece of paper held millions of dollars in coins. So the burglars have taken TVs and radios and the normal stuff you steal, cell phones, not recognizing that sitting on the table were millions of dollars in crypto. But as that becomes more common, they are going to, thieves are going to identify that. And people that post on social media are especially vulnerable. Being on social media with your identity is somebody, let's say, for example, it's a public figure or somebody like us that's, moderately well known, and holding up your wallet to show off that you've got $11-12 million in it, you're also making yourself vulnerable for attack. So I always think, keeping information like that to yourself close to your vest, putting maybe your seed phrase separate from the wallet, having it in a safety deposit box, or maybe your own safe, or maybe somewhere that you know and nobody else knows. Of course, you wouldn't want it to be in a place where it's vulnerable for fire. So I think that's the first step. You have to figure out, you can't be somebody that doesn't keep track of their car keys or their cell phone. That kind of person is going to have a problem. But allowing exchanges to have access, that means employees have access. So the point of decentralized finance and the point of blockchain and the freedom of it is that you truly take full control. And especially if you're a global traveler, you don't have to worry about just one institution that you've got to get. And then, of course, if you're dealing with one specific institution, you have to deal with time zones. You're in Europe and you want to talk to the person that's in charge of your account, that may very well be a problem,
That's interesting.
When we talk about hardware wallets too, they do have hardware wallets that have biometrics in it, where your seed phrases and is locked in there. But also they do have software, so they can be hacked if somehow they get into the company's software. So if you do have a hardware wallet, put it in a Faraday bag. This way, that blocks all transmissions, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. This way, when you're ready to open it and pull it out, you pull it out of the bag, you log in and do your thing, and then log out and put it back in the bag. Keeps it even more secure for you.
I was going to throw a comment out there about public and private, right? So one of the, I'm pro moving to blockchain and everything, but one of the things that they don't do in Web 2 with the bank, right, is what I have in my bank account and where I'm moving it and where it's coming from isn't public. So, for example, Donald Trump, I can't remember if it's Trump himself or it's the Trump World Financial Network, I could check it out though, because it's not hard to find. People know what the public key for that organization is. So like there was a whale that was speaking when I was in Dubai, and he made some comments about sending money to somebody and how much he had sent. And people were able then to take and do the EtherScan and see that amount had been sent in that relative time that he was talking about. It had to do with New Year's Eve. And so from then on, everybody knew that was his public address, and people started to track the type of trades he was doing. He was a trader. So, you talk about Nancy Pelosi, and there's like a thing out there where you can track her stock trades because she has to reveal those as a member of Congress.
It's called
My
Pelosi
bank,
Stock Tracker for the audience.
yes, stock tracker. My bank does not make my public checking account available. Right. So if I know George's wallet address and I'm willing to go to, EtherScan, use the Explorer and put in his wallet address, I can see all the public transactions on the ledger that have occurred in that wallet address. So it'll show what came in it and what went out of it. And I can make some deductions from that. So that's I think something worth considering, at least, is that when you do have a crypto wallet, if people, like, for example, if you send them your public address, you say, okay, great, send me some Bitcoin. That person now knows your public address and can scan it anytime. In fact, we ought to do that next week, is pull up EtherScan and show everybody how that works. So it's just interesting to note, once your public keys are out there, people know what you got in your wallet.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
And that's an incredible observation. Of course, that exposes you to lots of possibilities. Right. I think as the market grows and the value continues to climb, it's going to be more concerning because, of course, there's going to be players out there that have wallets with millions and millions, if not hundreds of millions or even billions. And that's going to make them vulnerable. It's really difficult. So that, we'll have to see where that heads in the future. Yeah. I think it's important. I think this is great information. Hopefully the audience appreciates it. I know I always do, because each one of these episodes that you do, Antonia, I walk away with a better understanding. There's always some things that I don't know. So that's the thing. If you're in the chat, let us know. We definitely want to give you an opportunity to participate. So if you have some questions, throw it at the team. We'll try to do it for you. #1 crypto show on Rumble. We'll be right back to Crypto Power Hour. Stay tuned. And when we come back, going to be talking about some big moves that are happening in the marketplace. Circle's bold leap. USDC issuer eyes April IPO. Man, this is big. JP Morgan and Citi at the helm of the IPO. Stay tuned. Crypto Power. I'll be right back.
As an American who keeps up with the real news, you know by now the severity of the economic issues that are plaguing our great nation. My name is Jonathan Rose, and I'm the CEO of Genesis Gold Group, the only major faith-driven company in the industry. 2024 is a year full of uncertainties, with trillions of dollars in national debt, inflation impacting your savings, and a pivotal election year. Your peace of mind is more valuable than ever. Now is the time to use physical gold and silver to preserve your hard-earned retirement savings with a gold IRA. Call Genesis Gold Group today. Our team has decades of experience helping folks just like you take their first step on the path to true financial freedom with a gold and silver IRA.
Call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200-GOLD for a no-commitment, informative consultation with one of our experts to find out if we can be a fit for you. Call now at 1-800-200-4653 or visit genesisgoldgroup.com.
In a world of uncertainty, be prepared with Silver Prepper Bars, your ultimate hedge against political instability and economic turmoil. Introducing the Silver Prepper Bar, crafted from 0.999 pure silver and proudly made in the USA. This tangible, divisible asset can come in handy even in the toughest of times. Portable, perforated, and easily tradable, the Silver Prepper Bar is your lifeline in times of crisis. When facing inflation, currency devaluation, and financial meltdown, Silver Prepper Bars provide peace of mind. Don't wait for disaster to strike. Secure your future today with the exclusive Silver Prepper Bar, the only silver bar on the market divisible into 3 different size pieces for maximum utility, all while fitting in your wallet. The smart choice for savvy investors and preppers alike. With Silver Prepper Bars, you're ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Hi folks, I'm here today to introduce you to the Prepper Bar from PrepperBar.com, the most unique precious metals product we have seen in a long time. These 62-gram bars are perforated and easily broken down into your choice of 3 different sizes to fit a multitude of needs. Whether it be from asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or its unique utility for barter and trade, the Prepper Bar makes a perfect gift for all the precious metal lovers out there. Exclusively made here in the USA and selling out fast. Available in both gold and silver, these slim Prepper Bars fit neatly in your wallet, and their utility enables use in any situation. As gold and silver prices continue to surge and top economists predict upcoming shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals in the form of Prepper Bars. Go to prepperbar.com now and place your order before supply runs out and prices go up. All payment methods accepted. Order your silver Prepper Bars now at prepperbar.com. Silver Prepper Bars, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Order now.
All right, welcome back to the Crypto Power Hour, powered by Solon Global with your host, Kurt St. Johns, Antonio Mas, Lance Migliaccio, and yours truly, George Balloutine. What do we got? We got Circle Internet Financial, the company behind USDC stablecoin, is preparing to go public with its initial public offering slated for late April 2025. And partnering with them are big financial powerhouses like JP Morgan, Chase, and Citi as underwriters. Now, Kirk, this is big news. What is it? What is this movement going for? Like, what are we hearing?
Well, one of the themes we've talked about on the show, really almost from the inception, is how the regulatory or the government industry interaction is changing here in the States, right? So, I don't know if everybody knows it, but USDC is basically a USA native stablecoin. So it's one of the, exciting things that's happened in crypto that's come from the States. They filed for their original IPO the day after the Bitcoin ETFs were approved. So we knew that they were going to position for it, but that was back under, Biden and Gary Gensler, and, there was a lot of flack and some pushback. They even tried to do what's called a SPAC, which is kind of a creative way of going public. And they got a lot of pushback. They just weren't allowed to do it. So now here we are, and we're on this side of the Trump, regime taking over. And it just seems that, this is going to be probably, to me, I think this is going to be a floodgate buster, right? Because we've talked about it before, like what we're doing at Solum. We're a US-based corporation. We're trying to work with, real world business cases, whether it's cross-border payments or what we're doing with the medical space. All that is based on a stable coin being an accepted form of currency in a normal day-to-day business transaction process. So when you look at, players like JP Morgan and Citi getting involved, I mean, they've got huge lobby groups. They know everybody, both in New York and Washington, senators, congressmen, judges, lobbyists, all that kind of stuff. So when you see them coming in and getting behind a company like Circle, and Circle maybe didn't get the same level of press as Ripple or XRP in their fight with the government. But they've had their own share of a dust up with the SEC and call it the federal government in general. So watching this come, I think is going to be great, because innovation right now within, blockchain projects, crypto projects, things like that, a lot of it comes from, within the community itself. Right. So, you look at people that have been successful in Bitcoin or Ethereum or any coin, and then they meet someone that's doing another project and they throw them a few coin to get the ball rolling. Right. But when you see, corporate America and corporate finance, which is really global finance, start to come in and say, hey, we're willing to take a piece of this pie. We're willing to, invest in companies that are doing things with blockchain and cryptocurrencies, then you start to bring in a whole nother player, which I think is going to be exciting for the whole industry across the board.
Well, it's clear that JP Morgan Chase and Citi are well connected. They realize that the regulatory climate or landscape in DC has dramatically changed I'm sure they're going to take advantage of it. They don't want to miss out on generational wealth. They're very good at analyzing what's going to happen in Washington, D.C. And with Biden out, Gensler out, Trump in, and it's obvious that his family is getting super entrenched. In fact, to the point that you hear the market talking about, is it fair? Is it this or that? And I think it is fair. I think it's time, and I think it's obvious that this isn't going anywhere. So I'm not surprised to see this happen, but I do agree with you. The floodgates are open. This is the first of many. Going to be some great opportunities. I don't know about the valuation because I don't know enough about Circle's finances. They're saying it's going to be a $4 to $5 billion valuation. Antonio, what do you think the involvement of traditional financial institutions, with your background, this is probably something that you're more of an expert on, like JP Morgan and Citibank, what's the impact of the perception of the cryptocurrency companies when they enter public markets now? Do you think that gets the general public thinking, okay, this has gone mainstream, I need to get involved?
100%. I think as well, if not just because I used to work there, but JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon as CEO, like incredibly smart person, but was really critical. He was one of the big voices against crypto. So it's when you see institutions, not only do they carry weight, but actually a kind of quote crypto converts in a way, it really adds that layer of legitimacy, especially when these institutions are household names that the general public, I would like to say, kind of trust. So it adds legitimacy to the crypto industry a lot, and I think that it's a very powerful statement. And I'm not surprised, but I'm encouraged.
You know, something else to think about is Circle, obviously we said it's a stable coin, but in the Trump administration, you mentioned Trump's kids, and then there's the World Liberty Financial Network. They launched a stable coin last week themselves, right? So that kind of stuff is happening. And talk about Jamie being smart. Whilst he was running around telling everyone, well, I mean, he is obviously very smart, right? But while they were running around doing that, they had one of the largest crypto departments in New York. They had 1,800 employees that sat around and didn't do anything but dig up and find and look and put together white papers. They had kind of like a CMS tool, if you want to call it that. You could call it a spy ring. But if you were involved in crypto, you were involved in projects, you were filing paperwork in Dubai, or whether it was in Zug or here in the States, he had this whole gigantic organization of people that were doing nothing other than getting their heads around literally everything that was going on in crypto. And they even minted their own coin back in the day. So on the public side of everything, he's like, oh, no, this doesn't work. This is stupid. But behind the scenes, you know, I don't know how much 1,800 people cost a week in a paycheck, but, you know, there was some good and smart people there. So it was pretty interesting to see that they were able to, you know, get themselves positioned to take out what could be one of the biggest IPOs of 2025.
Yeah. You know, I always wonder what investors will think. George, what do you think about the risks and rewards for these investors? We talk about a lot of times that the opportunities in crypto, it strikes me as the early tech period in the United States before it tanked, when everything was just taking off tech-wise. I think this is a potential big opportunity to participate in maybe one of the first IPOs. There should be a lot of market interest. What do you think the reward for investors looking to participate and the risks are going to be like?
Listen, as technology keeps evolving, so will rewards. That's my take on it. Like, these investors they're not stupid. They're looking, you know, for secure investments, and this is the way to go. Anything in a stable coin like this is going to secure your investment, and it's long term. It's not just short term. It may fluctuate a little bit here and there, but it's not like if you're buying a stock where your stock is going to be 10,000, it goes down to 6,000, 5,000. Stable coins, my belief is not like that. So their long time investments is spot on, and like I said, as AI keeps advancing and technology, so will this, and it will just keep getting better and better. Everything.
Well, I think it's here to stay, and I think we're at the conception phase, and I think that's what's important for investors. Of course, people that got into tech at the late stage in the early 2000s here in the United States, a lot of those people lost money. But I feel like we're at such the early stage in the cryptocurrency market and the digital asset market that the opportunity in these early IPOs Again, this isn't financial advice. Let me make it clear. You still want to talk to your financial experts in your family. But I have to believe, Kirk, that this is exactly when you want to get involved. Is it the early stage investors, not maybe the late game people?
Yeah, no, I'm, and even though Circle is built around a stable coin, which itself, right, shouldn't fluctuate in value, the way that they've created it is average Joe, like me, you, anybody else that can buy a share of stock. You can buy stock in a company if that's like a way of investing that you're comfortable with. You might be standing watching this show going, I need to keep watching this show because I know, crypto and Bitcoin and all this stuff is really cool and I need to know more about it, but I'm not ready to like drop 25 grand on this thing right now or 100, right? But then now you're sitting there going, okay, well, JP Morgan, back to, Jamie being smart. I mean, Jamie's not taking this company out because he wants to lose money.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, he's doing it because he believes that his shareholders and his underwriters are going to, get the pre-IPO price and, some early stage investors. And then there'll be the day it goes out. A good friend of the show from Newsmax, Ed Henry, was having lunch with him Sunday. And he was one of the early guys at Newsmax, or I think it's called Newsmax Media Corp or Newsmax, but it's a television, it's a broadcast company. They went public yesterday. They came out at $10. I looked at it today. I think they're like 106.
They went there yesterday. Yesterday they went to 100.
Day before yesterday.
Yeah. Congratulations to them. But I agree with
Yeah.
you. There's no doubt. I think the early people are going to really benefit. I think even the early people that buy it on the open market, I don't think you only have to be an insider. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. We'll let her know if any more new information comes out that's relevant so you guys can make some good moves, maybe some educational moves first and then your finance people next. Let's talk about the big news. This is big. George, you've talked about many times how complicated it is to buy crypto. So many exchanges, so many wallets. Binance just bridged central exchanges, SCEX, and of course, decentralized finance exchanges, DeFi. No wallet transfers, no headaches. Everybody out there needs to know, unless you've been living on a rock, that Binance is clearly the world's largest crypto exchange. This is one of the biggest user experience upgrades in DeFi history. This new CEX to DEX trading feature, they can now trade decentralized tokens directly from their Binance Exchange balances. No manual transfers, no bridging, no waiting, integrated with Binance Wallet. This is a first of its kind feature. Kirk, I mean, this could finally break down the barrier between centralized finance and decentralized finance. And of course, I believe this is going to accelerate adoption worldwide. What are your thoughts, man? This is some of the biggest news, one of the biggest innovations.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, obviously we want to take, enough time. What is it? The 48-hour rule, so to speak, maybe even a little longer, see how it works. The news is exciting. And it was back to Antonia talking earlier, for the audience, there's the centralized exchange world and the decentralized exchange world. And it's kind of like within football, you've got the NFC and the AFC, and you can't get any of those teams together except at the Super Bowl where there's only two of them. Right. So now we've got, this really neat opportunity, and it is a bridge, right? They've basically built a bridge between the two. And so like with any bridge in New York, San Francisco, wherever it is, you can go from one side to the other. And so now people that are out there wanting to have, so to speak, maybe some of the centralized exchange comforts and senses of security, now they can have access to decentralized tokens, NFT, other things like that. And also the DeFi guys who are much more comfortable with what they're doing on their side can dip in and have access to some of the stuff that's going on the centralized exchanges. So, it's really an interesting technology. It's interesting in the features and functions and values it lets the individual coin holders have access to. But I think as much as anything, it's the idea that, a pioneering group like Binance, would do something like this and make it possible for their account holders.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a much broader market impact there. For me, my speculation and my question is, could this be the iPhone moment for DeFi adoption, Antonia?
Yeah, so firstly, I know I've kind of gone into darkness here. So
I started to wonder what's going on. Did you not pay your power bill?
Yeah, I'm just kind of fading away over time. But no, Lars, I think, it basically breaks down the complexity. So there's big interest in DeFi, but it still remains complex. And this is a massive example of something that has got great user design, as you say, and it will onboard people. The people who've got questions, I think that, it's limited because it only supports 4 major blockchain networks. I don't think that matters, because the people who are going to be attracted by this, of it making DeFi more mainstream, are those who will be using the main blockchains anyway.
Nope. You good?
Guys, I'm having a shocker. Anyway,
Yeah, it could just be the lousy weather in the UK, the darkness creeping in through the window.
I think
I was going to say,
the signs are there. I need to.
That's
person
it.
standing behind you.
I was just going to say that.
I'm a floating head.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is terrible.
It happens sometimes when you're on a network. Sure.
What's that shadow behind you?
Now, George, let me ask you
Stop
this.
it.
Do you feel, George, like, that this is solving some of the problems and things that you've hated about the current situation with so many wallets, so many exchanges, so many passwords, so many places you have to buy a coin first to buy another?
It's not only that I hate it. A lot of people do. But, I have it on good information that, we've been talking about this from the first episode, and being that the number one crypto show on Rumble, I have close information that Binance has been watching our show, and they said, "Oh, we got to solve this." I should get a cut of it, Binance.
Thank you, Binance.
Yeah, but listen,
number one show on Rumble.
Oh,
Lance, that sounds terrible. You keep doing that.
I couldn't help it. Couldn't help myself. I have to go there sometimes.
It's. You said it before, Lance. I want to reiterate. It's eliminating the need to transfer funds to separate wallets first. Oh my God, that's huge.
Yeah.
It makes it faster, smoother, easier trading experience, and especially for those who are just coming into this crypto world and looking at all the technology and saying, "What is all this? How do I do this?"
Yeah,
because even
I had many of my friends tell me that.
It still confuses me. But listen, I always said the first company that gets ahead of this is going to be the big winners. Yeah. And listen, I know you said
that's why these guys are the big dogs on the block, because they innovate first.
Kurt brought up the 48-hour rule, and I agree. And over time, they'll perfect it more. And like I said, again, with technology, it'll just get better. But at least someone took that first step. This is huge beyond huge, because it's going to attract new users, especially users that are and they don't have the ability to themselves. What?
They're going to get pounded, right? I mean, a bridge isn't exactly a blockchain. So if there is a weak link, bridges certainly are one of the places to look at it. So it'll be neat. Who are the guys from Korea that did the big hack? North Korean team.
Mm-hmm. That is the Lazarus Group.
Yeah, the Lazarus groups. Mm-hmm. Let's see how they knock on that door and see what they can do.
Yeah, no doubt. They're the experts in hacking, that's for sure. Well, I've got to give Kirk his I told you so moment, because I know he enjoys these almost more than anybody else on the show. We talked about XRP, where it was going to go, what was going to happen. Yes. I'll admit I was wrong. Can XRP explode to $3, or is a $1.07 crash inevitable? Kirk, I'll hand you the microphone, because I know you love a good I told you so.
Well, I don't want to tell you I told you so, but I did tell you. I told you. It was last week we were going to see what everyone was thinking. XRP had some really great news coming out. I think it was like at 240 something, maybe nudging to 250. We had some guesses for where it was going to come last Friday, and I picked 220. And I looked Friday morning, it was 220. And I think it's not like really bad for XRP, because as George was saying earlier, these kind of things are volatile, and they got a really great news cycle and it went up. But I think a lot of people that own it are expecting it to literally explode, like not $3. Like my X feed, I can't go 10 little posts without seeing somebody saying, XRP is going to be 10,000, and people are saying that Donald Trump and the Treasury Department have already decided that they're going to buy all the XRP that's available for $10,000 a coin, and all kinds of hype that's out there. So sometimes even with a good news story, when you don't get the astronomical explosive green candles, people get a little bit worried. And so you can have some people, that are stepping back. So, I think the Ripple XRP use case is still, unfolding itself as much as the Binance bridge, and we're going to watch what happens there. But I think it's going to come back. What was it like right down to 202, 206?
It was 202, and I think it's already back up today. We're already seeing an increase. And I think that also people right now are looking at the adoption for the European Union. They're talking about the CBDC. I think it's called the central bank digital currency, which is the euro, and the adoption of Ripple. So there's a lot of predictions that $100 to $1,000 is imminent because of the adoption there in Europe for the first time. And of course, the people in Europe are excited about it. We're seeing lots of posts on social media about how big this is going to be, kind of like what we talked about earlier in the show with you, Antonio. We kind of discussed what the opportunities were having digital currency versus US dollars or otherwise in this constant transfer. So if Ripple really gets adopted, could this be XRP's success signal? Is this going to be a broader resurgence in utility-driven crypto projects? What do you think? I don't think it's, or is it meme coin hype? But I don't feel like it's meme coin hype. I feel good about it because XRP, in my opinion, is going to be the ultimate cross-border financial transaction solution. At least that's my take.
Yeah, I think it kind of shows this resurgence in utility-driven crypto projects rather than just the hype of some meme coins, which are a bit of fun, the whole like pump and dump stuff we see because it's got the
fun if you're winning, not so fun when you're losing on a rug pull.
Fun if you're winning.
Yeah. When you're on a rug pull, I've seen people destroying their cars, their homes, throwing their computers. I'm done with crypto. A rug pull is never fun for those people.
Yeah.
Or worse still, going even more risque, but each to their own. But yeah, look, I think that's what we're doing at Solum. It's like, what's a coin with a real life value added use case? So XRP's, ability to facilitate cross-border transactions, that's great. And it's great to see the draw and attraction to that. And I think it's a sign of the industry maturing as a whole.
Something that also was interesting there, where we're talking about Circle and JP Morgan and Citi, but I mean, Ripple's, they're on a track to go public.
That's right.
So Ripple is the parent company for the audience. They're the parent company that deals with, and release XRP. XRP Health, which is XRPH, they just announced last, is it a week ago now, maybe 10 days, that they're going public. And then Ripple's also, they've got their RLUSD stablecoin, which I think now is like floating around like $170 million market cap, maybe I think it is. But it's early on in its adoption. So, there's another potential IPO for people to keep their eye on coming out probably late this summer, maybe early next year.
I feel like XRP is one of those opportunities that if you have some disposable money, buying some and just forgetting you own it, don't lose your 12-word seed phrase, of course. I'm going to tell you to lock that down. But I think if you have the opportunity and you have some additional capital, I know it's a tough market. XRP is the one I would tell people to hold. Buy some, forget you have it. Maybe you'll go back and maybe you'll have a Bitcoin moment. A lot of people wish they'd done it with Bitcoin and they missed that opportunity and they're looking for the next coin. I just think that the exception and the adoption of XRP is so wide. And now that the SEC case is over, the 3,000 contracts that have never been really announced, I see lots of positive. George, what are your thoughts? XRP, is it the one you grab and stuff it in a sock drawer or your underwear drawer?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, listen, kudos to Kurt for picking that 220, but if you would have took that when Kurt said that, and if you had your whatever your XRP, you had it at, let's say 260. If you sold at 260 and you buy back in, you're just going to make more money. I mean, XRP is just going to go up. It's inevitable. It's, we have to wait for all those NDAs to come out. Like you said, it could take over a year if they put out 3 a day. It's just, everything is timing. Right now, the markets are bullish. It's because of the trade wars. Everybody's scared, but everything's going to go up. Listen, Bitcoin's going back up. XRP's going back up. People were calling it. I was watching on X, people saying, Ethereum is going to drop to zero. It's going to lose out, but they're going back. They started going back up yesterday. So they opened it. They opened her over already $100 by the afternoon yesterday. So I mean,
yeah.
No haters and winners and losers, but
And I think that's one of those things you have to think about the long term. What's crypto market? What's the community look like 5 years from now? To me, you're at the infancy stage, and if we'd all gotten involved in any business at the infancy stage, we'd all be looking at generational wealth. So, of course, that's why you're here on the Crypto Power Hour. That's why you tune in to watch the show. #1 crypto show on Rumble. Here's the deal. If you're not following us over on X, you should be, the Crypto Power Hour. If you're not following Solum Global, if you're not following G. Balloutine, Lance Miliaccio, and the Big Mig Show, our regular home base, and C. Kirk 2023, Antonio Moss. I don't know why I always struggle with the numbers. Antonio Moss 42?
Yes, amazing.
Whoa, I got it right.
I know, I'm
Antonio Moss
impressed.
42. I have 45 and 47 stuck in my head because of Donald Trump. I can't help myself. So 42, there you are.
That's okay.
The Crypto Power Hour, 3 p.m. every Wednesday, 3 p.m. every Friday. Tune in. We're going to help you. We're going to educate you. We're going to try to do everything we can to make the market understood, bring you the top stories, the top news, the top interviews. It's what we do here. Crypto Power Hour, #1, numero uno on Rumble in the crypto.
You want to big finger things at the games.
That's it, the big game. We need one of those done for that. I was going to
We'll
play
get
the
some.
song again, but George
No,
didn't like
don't.
my song. I was going to play it. I might do it again just to irritate George. All right, listen, we're out of here. See you this Friday, 3 p.m.
Lance,
Back in the house.
Lance forgets, everybody, that George controls the audio. All I got to do is mute him or censor him. That's how it
All I
goes.
do is win. All I do is...
Watch, I just muted him right now. He can't. Nobody's hearing him. So you all have a blessed weekend. Blessed Wednesday. We will see you Friday at 3 p.m. Take care.
Ciao.
Yeah, Lance, nice try.
I'll fade away.
I just mute him. That's all.
What
That's
is